The movie opens in upstate New York 1974, where young Thaddeus Sivana is playing with a magic ball while riding with his father and older brother Sid Sivana, who takes away his toy, and the two mock Thad for complaining. After a while, Sid returns it to Thad, who notices that some strange symbols start to appear on the ball. Thad finds his dad and brother are gone, and the car moves rapidly. Finally, Thad ends up in the Rock of Eternity. He meets a being who claims to be the last of the Council of Wizards, and he is sworn to protect the realms from the 7 deadly sins. Since he has grown weak, he summoned Thad to inherit all his powers. However, Thad must prove he is pure of heart and strong in spirit. Thad finds giant monstrous statues of 7 deadly sins on the wall, and those evil creatures wish to wreak havoc on mankind. They speak to Thad and offer him even greater power, but Thad must grab an orb called the Eye to inherit their power. When Thad tries to take it, the wizard stops him and declares Thad unworthy before sending him back into the car. Thad was frustrated and yelled while trying to get back, which distracted his father, and they almost hit a truck. As his father scolds him, they are rammed by another car, causing Mr. Sivana to be thrown out of the car. He was severely injured, and Sid blamed Thad for the accident. Meanwhile, the evil creatures send a message to Thad's magic ball, telling him to find them. Present day, a 15-year-old boy named Billy Batson tricks the cops into attending a store robbery, only to lock them inside so he can get access to their car, in order to get the information of a woman named Rachel Batson, whom he assumes to be his long-lost mother. Billy arrives at the address, which draws to a flashback of his childhood when he is with his mother. They went to a carnival, and they got separated after he was lost in the crowd. The police later found him, but his mother never showed up to claim him. Billy later walks up to the door and rings the bell, but he is disappointed to learn she is not his mother. Soon the cops show up and take him back to the foster home he escaped 2 weeks ago. The social worker, Miss Glover, brings up his history of running away from foster homes, and no one is willing to take him back. Although she sympathizes with his pursuit to find his mother, she gives him one last chance before he ends up someplace worse. Ms. Glover sets him up with Victor and Rosa Vasquez, who were foster kids themselves, and they raise another 5 kids. They introduce Billy to Eugene Choi, a video game geek, Darla Dudley, who welcomes and embraces him as her brother, Pedro Pena, a silent kid, Mary Bromfield, an aspiring college student, and Freddie Freeman, who walks with the help of a stick. Freddie is a superhero geek and shows Billy his collection, a batarang, and a bullet that hits Superman. The following day, Billy joins the other kids for school. Darla hugs him before heading to class, but Billy tells her they are not brother and sister. This makes her sad, and he regrets it. Somewhere else, a scientist named Lynn Crosby is interviewing a woman, while Dr. Sivana is listening to them. The woman claims to be summoned by the wizard to the Rock of Eternity. When Dr. Sivana asks her about the symbols, the woman sends him a video where he finds those symbols appearing on her alarm clock. Later, we see many individuals giving details about the Rock of Eternity and their meeting with the wizard. It turns out Dr. Sivana is desperately trying to find his way back to the Rock of Eternity. From the video sent by the woman, he finally discovers a pattern as the sequence repeats itself 7 times, and he draws them on the door. Crosby dismisses his theory, saying it isn't real. As she taps on the door, the portal opens, which causes her to disintegrate. Sivana walks through the door and ends up in the Rock of Eternity. The wizard recognizes him, and Sivana expresses disdain for his rejection as a child. Since he is not pure of heart, he seeks a different power and goes for the Eye. Soon the statues of 7 deadly sins come alive, and they claim Sivana as their champion and lodge themselves in Sivana's right eye to take shelter. The wizard tries to stop Sivana, but he overpowers the wizard. At school, Freddie is knocked over by the truck driven by his bullies, the Breyer brothers, Burke and Brett. As they continue beating Freddie, Billy chooses to walk away until they taunt Freddie for not having a mom. Billy grabs Freddie's stick and strikes Burke and Brett. Billy then runs away, but the Breyer brothers are chasing him. He manages to get away in a subway. Suddenly, everyone in the subway disappears, and strange symbols appear. Billy ends up at the Rock of Eternity and meets the wizard, who claims to be the last council of wizards and the keeper of the Rock of Eternity. The wizard then explains the Rock of Eternity has 7 thrones for 7 wizards, and long ago they chose a champion, but he used his power for revenge and released 7 deadly sins into the world, which erased the entire civilization from existence. So the wizard vowed not to pass his magic until he finds a good person who was strong in spirit and pure in heart and thinks Billy was worthy of receiving his powers. Billy thinks he is not a good person, but the wizard has run out of options and is willing to choose Billy as his champion. The wizard wants his magic to be passed on because all his brothers and sisters were slain by the sins and their thrones lie empty. The wizard commands Billy to hold his staff and say his name, SHAZAM. When Billy does so, he is hit by lightning and transforms into an adult superhero. Now he possesses many superpowers. The wizard says all the thrones of their brothers and sisters await and then turn into dust. Victor and Rosa get worried as Billy hasn't returned home. As SHAZAM, he sneaks around to find Freddy, and makes him come outside to prove who he is. Freddy was amazed and excited, and they went around to test out the powers of SHAZAM. Then they see a mugging about to occur. SHAZAM speeds over to help, but the woman already takes down the mugger using pepper spray on him. Later, he pushes the mugger to a distance. Seeing this, the woman gets scared and hands them some money not to hurt her and leaves. The two stop at a convenience store so SHAZAM can buy a beer, and a robbery happens. SHAZAM tries to stop it and gets shot, but the bullet rebounds, and they learn he is bulletproof. He then ties up the robbers and tosses them out of the store. SHAZAM and Freddy leave the store with a case of beer, discovering they don't like it. They return home to find Victor and Rosa awake, and they fail to sneak past them. They hide in Darla's room, and she sees SHAZAM. While trying to explain things to Darla, he says SHAZAM and turns back to Billy. He then tells Darla to keep it a secret. Sivana goes to his father's firm, where he is in a meeting with board members and his older son, Sid. After receiving a cold dismissal from his father and brother, Sivana displays his newfound powers by throwing his brother out the window to his death. He then sets the 7 sins loose, and they kill all the board members, saving Mr. Sivana for last, and pleads to his son for mercy. Still, Sivana blames him for being greedy and claims all the material possessions they have accumulated are nothing. He possesses actual power more than anyone. And they have to kill him before the champion learns his full potential. Sivana then orders them to find that champion, and he allows Greed to have his father. At school, SHAZAM uses his power to wreck the Briar's truck. SHAZAM then goes on to test his powers while Freddy records everything. SHAZAM turns out to be strong, fast, and has lightning powers, but he doesn't have the ability to fly. Freddy uploads all of those videos on YouTube. The videos went viral in no time, and SHAZAM became a sensation. One day at school, when Freddy gets bullied by Briars again, he tells them that SHAZAM is his friend and he will join him for lunch the next day. The following day, Billy decides to skip school to do his superhero stuff. That day SHAZAM notices a young woman walking down the street is about to get hit by a truck. He swoops in to save the woman, who turns out to be Mary and accidentally slips her name. He then covers it up by saying it's one of his superpowers. SHAZAM then learns that Mary is worried because she just got accepted into a college, but she isn't excited because she doesn't want to leave her family. SHAZAM tries to convince her to take her chance and live her life, as she can't live in a foster home for the rest of her life. He then tells her to take care before leaving, and Mary starts to suspect him. Meanwhile, Freddy is humiliated at school after SHAZAM fails to show up for lunch. He later finds SHAZAM in the streets showing off his superpowers, and Freddy confronts him for being a terrible friend. SHAZAM says he never promised to come, and now he is a superhero. While he continues showing off his lightning powers, he accidentally bursts the tires off a bus, which swerves over the edge of a bridge. Since he can't fly, SHAZAM waits for the bus to descend so he can catch it and then place it down. Everyone sees him as a hero for saving even though he caused that accident. When SHAZAM takes pride over that incident, Freddy tells him that he almost killed those people and ditches SHAZAM, saying he is the same as the Briars, and not long after, Sivana finds SHAZAM, and commands him to give his power to him. When SHAZAM refuses, Sivana shows that his power can affect him, and then pulls him up to the sky, and drops him. Just before he hits the ground, SHAZAM discovers that he can fly. But Sivana finds him again and tosses him around the city, and they take their fight into a mall, but SHAZAM manages to escape by saying his name and disappears as Billy. Sivana sees Freddy in the mall calling for Billy, and notices a TV screen with a news report featuring Freddy talking to SHAZAM. Sivana then threatens to kill Freddy if he doesn't say where Billy is. Meanwhile, Billy gets home, and Victor scolds him for running off, cutting classes, and getting into fights. While watching the news, the kids see Freddy talking to SHAZAM. After piecing it together, Mary and Eugene figured out that Billy is SHAZAM, which Darla confirms. Later, the kids go into Billy's room. As Pedro finds Billy's notebook detailing all the women he searched for that he thought would be his mother, Eugene tracks Billy's parents and learns that his father is in prison and his mother, now changed to Marilyn, is only 2 subway stops away. Billy heads off to find her. Freddy then returns home, but Sivana accompanies him. Billy arrives at his mother's apartment to greet her, but she doesn't recognize him and is shocked but not happy to see him when he tells her that he is her son. Marilyn then reveals that she looked for him when he got lost, and when she saw him with the cops, she realized they would take better care of him, because she was just 17 and her father kicked her out, and Billy's father doesn't want to be a part of anything. Billy is devastated after realizing that she never cared for him. While leaving, he gets a call from Freddie, hears from Sivana, and realizes that his siblings are in trouble. Billy transforms into SHAZAM and gets home to find the kids being held captive by Sivana. For the kids' safety, Billy agrees to transfer his powers to Sivana, who takes him to the Rock of Eternity. When SHAZAM is about to give up his powers, Sivana gets hit by a batarang, and it turns out that the kids follow them to help SHAZAM. When Sivana gets distracted, SHAZAM stabs him and throws him off. They run away from that place but can't find a way out. Freddie suggests SHAZAM think of some other place, and they get teleported to a nightclub that SHAZAM previously visited, and they end up at the Winter Carnival. However, Sivana finds the kids, and they are held captive by him and the Sins. He then orders SHAZAM to transfer his powers. If not, the Sins will kill the kids, starting with Darla. SHAZAM agrees to give up his powers and holds the staff, but he remembers the words of the wizard, saying that all the thrones of their brothers and sisters are waiting. SHAZAM seizes the staff from Sivana, and he tells the kids to place their hands on it and say SHAZAM. The kids now turned into superheroes themselves. The SHAZAM family fights against the Sins as they cause chaos in the carnival, while SHAZAM faces Sivana, and takes him far from those Sins. SHAZAM knew that his family was fighting with only 6 Sins, and envy was still residing in Sivana's eye. SHAZAM taunts envy to make him come out, and the envy angrily jumps out to attack SHAZAM, which causes the floating Sivana to fall over the edge of a building, hanging for his life. SHAZAM reverts to Billy to get envy off of him but then returns to his superhero form to catch Sivana before he falls to his death. He brings Sivana back to the carnival and is weak now as no sin exists in the eye out of Sivana, and they secure it in the Rock of Eternity, forcing the Sins to return to their statue condition. The following day, the siblings are glorified as mysterious superheroes. Billy joins the family for dinner and even says grace, now decides to stay, and finally accepts them as his family. It's alone to have lunch. Eugene, Darla, and Pedro join him. SHAZAM enters the cafeteria, surprising the other kids, even the Briars. He then sits next to Freddie and calls him his best friend, showing off his special guest, Superman. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.